Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Met We Talk Students podcast series. We are your hosts, Ashanti Roach,
Natalia Stennett,
Samantha Mulgrave.
Today's episode is one that sits heavy on the nation's heart, but also bright with the kind of strength only Jamaicans could carry. We're calling this episode Ground Zero, in the eye of the aftermath. And we're taking you straight into the lived realities of what it was truly like on the ground during and after Hurricane Melissa. A storm that didn't just reshape landscapes, it reshaped realities. Melissa struck us hard. Over 90,000 families affected in the western region alone. Entire communities cut off from water and power, students displaced, and families wrestling with the emotional and practical chaos that follows disaster. But even inside the destruction, something deeply Jamaican rose to the surface. That cultural spirit that refuses to drop, even when everything else dropped wrongly.
And that's really what today is about. Yes, the damage, yes, the hardship, but also the humor, the faith, the community love, the cultural pride, the student resilience, and the small everyday acts of survival that often go unseen. Because in Jamaica, survival is not an isolated act, it is a collective performance.
Yes. And we're also diving into structures. The water, the road, the system that held up. Or didn't. We're going to talk honestly about inequality, about rural versus urban experience, and about what the storm revealed about Jamaica's vulnerable infrastructure.
and also we'll be looking at us, the students, how we coped, how we created our own little support groups, how we turned pain into purpose. So we had our WhatsApp groups, the power banks charging 40 phones in one room, the emotional support we got from people who themselves were scared but still showed up for all of us.
And most importantly, we want to ground this conversation in our culture, in the deep Caribbean inheritance that scholar Sir Hilary Beckles calls the most disaster-hardened civilization of the modern era. We'll look at how history, memory, identity, and community shape the way we face storms today. Because Jamaican resilience isn't just reaction, it's tradition, it's identity, it's who we are. So sit with us, walk with us, laugh when we laugh, reflect when we reflect, and remember that even after the hurricane blow off a roof, ruin we plans, mash up we mates, we're still there. Let's talk about what it really means to stand firm, not just during the storm, but in the long emotional aftermath.
Ain't afraid of you. Melissa, we not afraid.
Listen about a run, man. Come here.
It's not a beautiful day to be outside. Now, it's only who can manage the water. All right.
The rain pour, I'll be all you need and more. Morning and I step outside. Yes.
All right, so let's jump into it. So the first topic that we have, faith, humor, and community in recovery. And humor, number one, Jamaicans will take everything for joke. Right? Because for us, it's not just a joke, it's how we cope, because you have to laugh through the pain. And we saw that with Hurricane Melissa. I got a TikTok video them, especially Miguel, oh my God. And then we have the WhatsApp messages, everybody talking about it not coming, what them are going to do, which part of them are going to go. And so how we cope is with humor. So it brings me back to the video that we just watched with everybody posting videos on TikTok. Because in a crisis, Jamaicans use humor not as an escapism, but more as a way to manage the fear, manage the stress that we're going through. Because humor can occur in any social situation. We can laugh anywhere about anything and seen as a coping mechanism. So it is healthy and it helps to alleviate the negative emotions that we're facing. Because with the hurricane, anxiety through the roof. I don't know if anybody else experienced that, but I was so anxious.
Most definitely.
Especially when she moved from the tropical storm and she jumped to the hurricane. Like, what is Melissa doing? And then I saw when they said Melissa coming to the wrong country because we're not going to take her serious because where was she going for real? And what I realized through research, like reading up for this, is that humor strengthens social connections and it's about really strengthening the interpersonal relationships because when you're afraid, I'm afraid, and we start joke about it, it connects us and it strengthens the relationship. So I know that I can depend on you. You can maybe help me to laugh through something. You can help me to get over whatever. So jokes for us, it didn't stop the storm, but it stopped the panic that would have come with the storm. And I feel like when we laugh together, we feel less alone. So it's really a form of collective coping for all of us. And that brings me to faith, the number one coping mechanism for us Jamaicans, because you know Jamaica is a Christian country. And
especially in times of danger, like if
that's when we start to
that is when we start to pray, right?
True. Yeah. I was really strengthened, like the church WhatsApp group at them time it active because the WhatsApp group might dead for how long, and then every Sunday you might get a little message. But when the hurricane come, every 5 minutes pastor post something or sister post something, and just like humor, the faith regulates the anxiety that we have. I know Jamaica is a praying country. They did a prayer with Melissa, and then when Melissa was coming, they're praying for her to listen and praying for the damages to be lessened. And so I'm really happy to be a part of this country that balances both. Like, yeah, we will laugh about it, but at the same time, make a laugh and then make a pray.
Yeah, and we're taking it seriously with preparing for it, right? You would have seen persons button up the zinc and the window, and the supermarkets were empty.
No bread.
Right, the supermarkets were empty.
Right. So I even saw where Jamaicans have a funny way of sugar and the bread. Nobody could get no bread, rice, flour. But the tin food still together.
The one thing we need.
So what are we going to eat the bread? And that's why it's important for us to understand why the humour matters, why the faith matters, why the community spirit matters. Because this does not stay in the Jamaican shores. It's a Caribbean thing. So we would have seen where other Caribbean countries would have been praying for us, laughing with us, and going through it with us from their perspective. What this introduced to us was the concept of Caribbean relationality. It showed how we were all connected. And in the wake of the hurricane, it manifested through mutual aid and support. So if you guys can remember, the communities were mobilizing the provision of immediate assistance. So we had persons sharing food, opening up their homes, and even persons who would have been skilled in medical services would have been providing that to their persons. However, it transcended that. So after the hurricane, we saw where other Caribbean country leaders came here.
Cuba.
So we saw Cuba, saw Barbados, we saw where they even came, they visited the site because they were operating from the perspective that a major hurricane like this can affect their country as well in the because of climate change. Right. So they wanted to ensure that we're connected and supporting each other like that. So they donated supplies as well. And this also emphasized cultural resilience. So the humor, the faith, and the community, through all that laughing, through all the jokes that came from the videos, we were seeing cultural elements coming through. Persons were telling their stories. Persons were letting us know that they were feeling it, but laughter can come out of it. Music were even made.
Right.
Because we saw where persons made songs about it,
Like
right?
panics.
Yeah, and the ding dong song.
And what this did was not only lighten the burden of the hurricane, but it helped us to foster a sense of unity and resilience among the persons that were affected.
Right.
Even when persons in the western parishes were cut off, we go down there. Persons from Kingston went down there. That's also community, shared community support, right? There's also collaboration. So again, we saw where the government agencies, NGOs, and other actors, basically from Jamaica and the diaspora, came together to enhance the recovery efforts.
Yes.
So what this did was focus rebuilding on a major scale, right?
Because even though I can help my neighbor with the roof, an NGO come in and I can help with the nailing on the board or putting up on the zinc, but they have actual machines to help.
Right. And that leads us to community engagement, right? Because when we all come together, we form a part of the support system that persons need to recover.
And as you mentioned, community engagement, it reminds me of community care and community resilience, right? And this is a big part of our culture, right? We ensure that we are present, we are empowering, and we are supportive, right? So you would have seen neighbors coming together and they go over somebody whose roof blew away and they just put together and fix that roof, right? Would have seen even the men on the road when the roads were blocked and trees were all over. They would have been cutting,
Clearing the pathway.
right? And even provision of care packages, right? And it's not just within Jamaica. We saw where persons from the diaspora, international bodies also. Yes. So it's just caring for the community. We went through this together and we're trying to overcome it together.
Giving back as well, because we saw where the artists themselves were packing barrels. So we get to see a part of them outside of the music persona.
So looking at it now, recovery isn't just about fixing roads and roofs. It's about how we joke, how we pray, how we show up for each other. You know, we are our brother's keeper. Yes, and all of that would have tied together. Humor, faith, plus community care, a Caribbean thread of survival.
And just what Sam said, Brothers Keeper, it reminds me of all the stories I would hear coming out of the hurricane. You know, we saw a lot of videos afterwards, people losing homes, and then you will go announce, oh, school starting tomorrow, guys.
Get me started.
It reminded me of how others would be feeling, what they could be going through. And lucky for you, we have testimonies.
Right. That's synonymous to one of the testimonies I got. During the hurricane, it wasn't that bad for me physically because I was on the eastern side of the island where the impact wasn't as strong, but mentally I spent most of the time worried about my family in Westmoreland. After the storm, my first challenge was just trying to really reach them and confirm they were alive and okay. I made the journey home and experienced the heat, the darkness, the mosquitoes, and sleeping became unbearable. Academically, many of my lectures were lenient, deadlines were extended, grading schemes were revised, and some coursework was dropped. That helped, but after visiting my family and seeing the condition of my home parish, that's all I could think about. I haven't put my full effort into anything since then. Honestly, I'm holding on by a thread, trying not to waste all the work I did to get here. Emotionally, I felt overwhelmed. I worked for years to save enough for school, thinking I could finally focus on academics and not finances. Instead, I was pushed right back into a breadwinner role, looking for a work to support my family while trying to keep up with school and dealing with strange, heavy feelings about my social life that were there before the storm but now amplified. I got words of encouragement and offers of help, and my family managed to pull together. So I didn't take those offers. But I've realized something. While it's important to keep going, we have to assess our mental state.
It's important.
If we don't, it will show up in other ways later. Academically, I know I will be fine. I've worked too hard to let this stop me. Personally, I know I need help to manage these repressed emotions that the storm amplifies. So, what we're seeing here is a story of academic resilience, emotional cost, and the warnings about unaddressed mental health.
Especially when he said he worked the 4 years to not have any financial stress.
Yeah.
The hurricane completely eradicate all of that because now, even though his family is putting it together, the drop off is going to be so horrible. So I can just, and then it's exam season.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then you have to remember that he's now in a breadwinner role again.
Yeah.
And as a student, it's very hard to find a part-time job to fit your
Especially
schedule.
now after the hurricane.
Because a lot of persons would have been laid off as well.
And what I really like about this testimony is the multidimensional aspect of it. So he touched on academics, he touched on the mental aspects, he touched on the physical aspect, the social aspect, all those the tie in, right? They're not separate. Similarly to Rashad's testimony, I would have gotten one, and Hurricane Melissa was an experience like no other. 8 hours of pure terror and trauma that alone changed my mindset and perception of life. Not in a simple good or bad way, but in a way I still don't fully have words for. The morning after, the environment didn't look like the place I grew up. The green horizon I loved as a child was bare and burnt. Every leaf in Darliston felt like it was now on the ground. Light posts I thought could never fall were lying across the road, alongside zinc sheets, water tanks, branches, bits of machines. Everything that should have been on a house was on the street. Houses were flattened or badly damaged. Walking through that with my neighbors, sharing good morning and sympathy in the middle of destruction felt surreal. Nothing looked salvageable. I had never seen so deeply into my neighbors' lives until their houses were blown open. And then, less than a week later, we had academic responsibilities. I was angry. Angry at the idea that people in worse situations than me were expected to keep up or reroute their entire education. How could an institution that depends on students seem so detached from the lives of those students? What hurts is that I did everything to not have to reroute. I was privileged to still have a roof and just enough resources to submit assignments and meet extended deadlines. I should have paused, checked my feelings properly, and asked if I was okay. I am only doing that now, and I wasn't okay. I don't think I can ever fully tell the whole story, but I know this. I expected more from the institution, and the immediate response disappointed me. So, what do you guys think of this testimony?
Like, for me, I'm wondering, like, those in, because she was talking about Darlington, which is Westmoreland.
It's in
right?
Westmoreland, yes.
Which is the same place that my testimony was.
Oh,
Right.
crazy. I'm thinking of, the people that are in Santa Cruz, or Mobe, Hanover, that had no light, no cell signal. I'm
Right.
wondering how would they hear the response from the university,
Mm-hmm.
or how would they be able to even submit their assignment?
Right.
And what comes to my mind is that also those same students were told to evacuate
Oh yes,
the
I
campus
remember when
by
they
the
sent,
university.
They sent the circular and said by the end of the next day they would have to leave. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you send these people home. The homes are damaged. No light, no water, no cell signal, digital and
So
we're picking up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how do they even come online to see this message or even be able to reach out? Because when we went down, we saw people under the cars
Yeah, the
holding it up to the
roadside.
sky, trying to
Right.
get a signal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have no idea what to think of this testimony.
And I feel like one of the most important things that came out for me was her saying I should have stopped and processed and,
Yeah.
and reflect on how I was feeling.
Right.
Was I okay?
Right.
Because I feel like a lot of times when disaster and crisis happen, persons don't stop to kind of assess
Yeah, they just
their
go.
own
Yeah.
emotional
And they're going to
state.
say, at least you have life. They're going to not look on what is happening internally.
Yeah.
But really,
Yeah.
actually, just be grateful that you have life at the end of the day.
But the
And that's
quality of
it.
life.
Right.
So these stories are not just statistics, right? They are epistemology, students' ways of knowing disaster from the inside.
And the irony of the water systems, the fact that the water destroyed the roads, and then the people didn't have any water to bathe,
Yeah.
that was crazy. Because even the western parishes that went weeks without water,
And they're still without one.
and some are still without water. And we're in December. The hurricane was in October, the end of October, because many of them relied on not necessarily NWC, but the rivers or the streams and the piped water, or even water trucks. But with no roads, even the water trucks couldn't make it there.
Right.
So I'm thinking of this basic need that has become a power structure, water in our country, and the fact that these places could not even get it because there were no roads. Whatever systems were created were completely cut off because we had rivers rerouting because they are, a lot of the homes up there, Clarendon area, Hanover, Westmoreland, they rerouted the rivers to build the houses. So now the river take back its route.
And even in Hanover right now, there's a specific part that's 8 feet above sea level.
Oh my God, that reminds me of the what's it on aquifer in content? Where
Yeah.
we saw the water rising. It's the same thing.
So content is drying now, but the
Also, the
water
water
in
going to
Hanover is
Hanover.
going up.
And what Natalie would have mentioned about black roads and the water making the roads impassable, it goes back to many communities were isolated.
Yeah.
To things like people wanting to go to hospital, maybe because of injuries and things like that, and wanted to go back to work, and also students wanted to go back to school. Taxi fares spiked because persons who would have normally be spending $500 to get a taxi to go wherever they're going, it's now like $2,000, $2,500, things like that. Students have to travel out of parish to brother sister schools to continue teaching. So I would have seen where Manu would have went to Jamaica College and other students went to, leaving from the western parishes coming to Kingston to school.
Oh, I like with the C-sec,
Right.
students.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
To get their SBA is finish up for the rest of the
It's
year.
the fact that nothing pauses.
Nothing pauses.
Things still continued, right? Because that was a main concern of mine, like these students who were out of school for quite a while, like a couple weeks, but there was nothing from CXC, not that I know of, to say that exams were being pushed back or anything. So life just continues.
And even high school back to the ground and
And then you
they
have
just
the other
started back
schools
school.
who are still sheltered, so
Right.
even though the schools are up and running, people are living
As
there.
they're
Yeah.
in there.
What we're hearing now is that there's clear tension between the institution's response and the human recovery process.
Yes.
Because recovery after one of the biggest hurricane in the Caribbean is going to take a lot of time.
Yes.
Rebuilding it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take consistent effort from the community members and the government and all of that.
Right.
But the institutions themselves, so are still being used as shelters. They have to be reopened.
Yeah.
So persons have to choose between helping their families rebuild versus getting their education. It comes off as if the universities or the schools are not compassionate enough towards the recovery process for
Right.
people themselves.
But at the same time, they don't have a choice.
Right. So what they do to offset all of that is some of them are offering fee waivers. Even the University of the West Indies, though the process is lengthy, they've made an effort to offer fee waivers, so they're allowing persons to pay 50% of their outstanding balances now, sit exams and
Yeah.
Oh, I actually saw an updated curriculum
Yeah.
where they said as long as you're registered for the course,
you're
Then
going to
you
do
will
that.
sit the
you
Right.
sit
exam.
the exam.
So that's where the leniency comes in.
Right.
So they're being more lenient because they would have realized the pushback persons would have been doing towards their response. So they're trying their best to satisfy the stakeholders within the institutions.
Right.
And now even the hotels, because hotels were badly damaged, the economy badly damaged. And we have the hotels now paying persons for their time away from work.
Also paid time off.
Paid time off, and persons even receive packages, sandals.
I wish I were.
Really good.
Listen, we see a case of cup soup, a case
right.
of tissue,
Really
Milo, Milo expensive. They had like 3 things of Milo in it. It was a well put together package. So the administrative response, though not perfect, still made an attempt or an effort to be there for the person.
And we can also look at the recovery patterns, and we can see the inequality
Yeah.
in this, right? So some parishes got more attention than others, right? We are from Hanover, and up to this day, it is. No, it's not a joke. Up to this day, when you hear persons talk about recovery and the AIDS, it's Saint Elizabeth, it's Westmoreland, it's St. James, it's never Hanover.
Even Trelawney at this
And persons will literally tell you, if I say where I'm from, they will literally say, oh,
I supposed to meet somebody from down there, so
right. Right. So places like Hanover, it was deeply forgotten.
That causes inequality when relief efforts are needed in the aftermath of an
Yeah.
hurricane.
And it reflects our historical patterns, right? So urban areas recover faster than rural areas.
Because persons want to go to Holland Bamboo, they want to go to Yaman, they want
Yeah.
to go to the beaches in the grill, the hotels. So it's going to be innate for them to say, we need to rebuild
Right.
this place faster.
Right, so it's important to note that Hurricane Melissa didn't just damage our buildings, right? It exposed the politics of recovery, who gets water, who gets roads, who gets time to grieve, and who is expected to just, snap back and, get back on track. We have a timetable and we're working with it, right? No deviations.
Well, I was talking about administrative response. It really, as a student, it brought me back to the response of my hall. I live within Irving Hall, and I would have seen a few initiatives they would have started as a result of the hurricane.
Right.
So they distributed packages to persons who needed it. And they did this through the university and the guild. They used the free little cupboard. You guys are real?
Yes.
So they used the free little cupboard to give persons privacy. Because one of the biggest things is persons who need help, they're vulnerable and they don't want to come out and look like they're begging.
Yeah.
Right.
And persons can stigmatize them, so that's also something that should be considered.
Welfare
right?
is always stigmatized
Yeah.
in Jamaica. And so in also not asking for help in financial or materialistic way, you can only imagine the need for the mental health support.
Right.
In our testimonies, we saw where persons were saying that they would have needed and appreciated and still do need help mentally. So the university, along with Irving Hall, would have collaborated to provide mental health support for the residents within Hall to provide peer support conversations after the hurricane. And this would have led to increased communication structure within the hall. So beyond the general announcements, the block representatives reached the students, the counselors were able to reach the students on a more personal level. And this ensured that everyone knew what support was and what was available to them. So they even refer persons off hall or off campus to the necessary avenues of seeking mental health support.
Russian would have mentioned that Irving Hall, the Guild, would have helped persons that were affected by Hurricane Melissa. I personally saw a person that would have helped the deaf community. She would have mentioned barriers to helping the deaf community. So things like deaf persons often couldn't access emergency information. They had to wait until someone was available to to do sign language so that they can understand. This exposed how people can sign and how crucial interpreters like Tony, because we all know who Tony is, that was nobody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we often see her at press conferences. Another thing too, accessing emergency information and resources is also an issue because we have very limited language-based based outreach.
Yeah.
That link back to autism. Jamaica's Sign Language Bible team led a targeted relief effort. So they did produce visual explanation of what was happening so that the deaf community could understand. Because when we see in press conferences and on TVJ, sometimes they would tend to black out Tony. So half her was showing or not showing at all.
Yeah.
So they went out and recreated back what would have happened in those press conferences. Most relief wasn't deaf centered.
Right.
When going into the community, so things like bringing medical aid, you cannot just go into the community and give aid. You have to understand where they're coming from,
You have to ask
what's
questions.
right, ask questions, and they were unable to understand and ask what was actually wrong, and that can be very detrimental, right?
Yeah.
Also, when going into the community and asking them what do they need, older folks who are deaf don't necessarily know how to write down what they're trying to explain, and that also is very.
So there's not only a barrier to the English language, but
Right.
to sign
sign
language.
language.
Sign language, because their structure of English is different from how we would write down things or say things. You understand? So it was very hard for them to understand what they need.
And it makes me think that heroes, because after the hurricane, everybody was going on handing out care packages, everybody around Timothy Bay and West. And I realized it's not just the ability to assist in that way that makes them a hero, but with the deaf community, imagine if somebody went and they were able to actually sign to be of
Right.
assistance.
Yeah.
So
That's simple things that you wouldn't necessarily think about would be really important. And
Persons.
she was important
In that
that
aspect.
regard.
Yeah.
Importance of inclusion.
And there was another initiative by a student that I believe was quite impactful, right? So this student, Komani, after Melissa, he would have been helping persons locally and especially in Westmoreland. He was helping them to locate their families. Because remember, the roads were blocked and no service, no internet connection, nothing, right? So he was helping persons locally and in the diaspora to locate their families. And he traveled to places that I wouldn't even imagine myself going, especially in those conditions, right?
places like a car,
No,
no roads.
he was there on his feet, right? Yes, he was there, and he went to these places and he found the families, sometimes not, right? And he would have reported back to these persons who wanted to get in touch with their families. So it was quite something to see, right? Big up Kamani. Big up Kamani.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the power of social media and
Right.
community action.
Right. So mutual aid is not just charity, right? It's solidarity. It's really coming together and just stepping into the roles that systems could have failed. This brings me to our third topic of discussion on cultural pride and resilience and collective memory. So, what being Jamaican means in disaster, right? And it reminds me of these proverbs that we always say it when things go bad. So, on one hand, it reflects our deep faith, right? And a commitment to having gratitude, being thankful, even amidst this, right? Because really and truly, once you have life, all things possible,
You can
right?
rebuild, you can help to rebuild other persons, can be there for them.
Yeah.
The
The
other
negative
hand,
side, I'm thinking, yeah, it's positive. I'm alive. I can help, but what kind of life am I living? Especially
Right.
after the hurricane, because when we say at least we still have life, what about the person so deeply affected, the one suffering with the grief, the
Exactly.
ones who no longer want to be alive because of
Right.
everything they've lost?
And it is suggesting that survival alone should cancel out all these loss, right? And I'm thinking to myself, are we truly living if everything we've known was erased, right? And if everything that we worked so hard for was just,
They talked about in the testimony, the homes are flat or destroyed. And
Exactly.
then you go to them and say, at least you
It's
still
not
have life.
like, who are you to say that? You're coming from wherever you're coming from. To say
exactly.
that to them. You're the one bringing assistance, so that means you have some sense of norm wherever you're
Yeah.
coming from. So you coming to them and say, at least
At least you have life. But is just surviving actually living? Like, is that enough?
Being Jamaican in disaster, I feel like there is beauty in finding the faith and the beauty in bad situations.
Right.
But on the other hand, we also have to ask these people who have suffered so much. We're saying to them, be grateful that you're still alive, be grateful that better is coming, but in their present situation, they're sleeping outside, they don't have any food, the mud, oh my god, the mud, leptospirosis,
could not survive.
at least we still have life, even though it's meant like the intent is good.
Yeah.
I feel like the impact would be the opposite of that.
So let's really analyze this in terms of our history, right? In terms of our colonial legacy and collective memory, right? So survival within the Caribbean is really a big thing, right? Because Melissa is not the first
that's
hurricane,
another obstacle in our
right? So think about the fact that the Caribbean has survived genocide, slavery and plantations, hurricane, right? So
kids.
Gilbert,
Man.
Ivan,
Sandy.
Sandy,
yeah.
The one last.
the one last year, that's what I can't remember.
Burial.
Burial.
Right? Burial.
Mentioning Melissa, we keep saying Beryl instead of Melissa.
Yeah. Right? We've survived earthquakes and economic marginalization. Scholars like Hilary Beckles and Vereen Shepherd, they show us that resilience here is historically forged. What do you guys think about that?
Because we have I think it's in our blood. So to always overcome and to be strong in these situations.
Creative.
To be creative, hence the humor that we have, plus the faith.
Right.
So I agree with regard to our resilience. Because even the meme that they had, Melissa coming to the wrong country.
Right.
Because Jamaica is such a resilient country, nothing bothers us, but at the same time, even if we're dealing with hell, we're going to find a way to overcome it.
And
Yes.
also, support, because as Hurricane Melissa passed through, we were all willing to go and help.
And
Even
help.
to lend a hand.
Right.
So think of even the Maroons. The existence of the Maroons is because of rebellion, it's because of resilience. They literally left the plantation to say, hey, I'm not taking this anymore. Let's form our own community, let's build together. And it's deeply African, our strength, our resilience, our ability to come together as a community. And I feel like because of that collective memory that we have,
Right.
it really shapes how we prepare for a hurricane or prepare to help.
And how we joke
How we
about it.
joke about it.
Right. How we pray.
And how we organize our efforts to overcome all of this.
Yeah.
So storm gonna come, storm gonna go.
After storm, there must be a car.
After
Together, can
Yeah.
make it happen.
Maybe we can
Right.
but resilience in the Caribbean is not just about survival, it's how we're able to resist and recover and reinvent
Stronger
and
and
create
better.
stronger and better. So it's not just random, it's a cultural thing, it's a historical thing, it's deeply communal. So my question to you guys is what did Melissa teach you personally? Because for me, Melissa taught me that it's easy to lose everything, it's easy to lose hope. But at the end of the day, mental health and your mental strength, your ability to be resilient, is what will get you through. So, Rashad, how about you?
Importance of family.
Importance of family.
So, I stayed in Kingston during the hurricane, and I had my birthday. I could hear from my family, so I just went down there. Just seeing them was enough for my birthday.
And I can actually relate to that because during the hurricane and them not having any light, them not having any signal, that made me worried.
I feel
So
guilty, yes.
I started crashing up basically, and I would going through stories, trying to get to people, not getting to anybody, and I would have went through I went on TikTok to kind of ease my mind to go through the live and things like that, and I would have seen someone that was from my community, and I would have asked them if everyone was okay, and that's how I would have got some answers. So yeah, the importance of family.
I think what I learned from this hurricane, especially as a student, right? And I'm going to say this, right? I just feel like it's important to take care of myself, right? It's important to just take a step back, especially as it relates to school, because I'm thinking to myself, if I lost my life in this hurricane, then you still would have keep. So who am I to be really killing up myself to meet these deadlines, to come back on campus, to do this, to do that, so when really and truly life are gone.
That links me to. I'm thinking of what the future would look like as it relates to what recovery should look like next time, especially as social workers, what we can do.
Yeah.
And what comes to mind is empathy over pity, because all of these people going in, I even found myself doing it, moving from I feel sorry for them
Yeah.
to how can I meet you to assist you? Because even someone saying in the community, they're carrying things to them and you don't really know what they need. So it's moving past, okay, let's go get all my friends, try to get some NGOs in and create care packages to actually identify what these communities actually need, what these people actually need, and providing for them.
I felt like we neglected the psychosocial needs of the people.
Yeah.
I feel like as helping professionals, we were not doing enough. We still aren't, because I was just reading the
Yes.
newspaper and someone was saying that the materials are good, the food is lovely and appreciated, but persons are struggling mentally.
Right.
So I feel like even in crisis management, crisis counseling, crisis resilience, and rebuilding, they first tell you that after any crisis, 48 hours persons have to be on the ground because mental health support will be challenged during that time. And I felt like we dropped the ball.
So
on that.
intentional.
And I think what we our persons did not do was really assess, right? Because we learned this in our courses, right? That we first need to assess. We need to know what exactly these persons are going through and what exactly they need before we can, really jump in to help. So I think that's a big part of what we lack.
So there needs to be a more comprehensive, targeted approach, in the whatever.
Multidimensional assessment.
And even on campus, like with the students being told to get come up.
Yeah, that was
I think we
sensitive.
need emergency homes on campus.
Mhm.
So when there is a disaster, lead the students there instead of sending them home. As we wrap up, we want to honor every story that we've heard, especially the ones that didn't make any headlines, the ones that people haven't heard because we have so many people who were affected. The students who have been reading with the half piece of candle, because we know they don't have any electricity. Some places still don't have electricity. The hall chair who stuck up the free little cover to help the students who are afraid to ask for help. The deaf leaders who went out to help the communities, especially those who are left out of conversations, and the neighbor who cooked the pot for the whole lane, things that we don't really hear about that we know is happening. Because these are not just side notes in the disaster story, these are at the center.
Right.
These are the core, these are the reasons why we actually can't survive.
So before we leave you, we each want to leave one line or one thought to carry with you long after this episode ends.
For me, one cocoa, full basket. Even small acts of care can build a whole new kind of recovery.
For me, Hurricane Melissa was a crisis, yes, but it was also a learning opportunity for everyone.
So for all who listened, all who lived this storm, and all who are still trying to find their footing, we honor your resilience, but we also honor your fatigue. You don't have to be strong every day to still be worthy of care.
Our hope is simple and radical. The next time, recovery will be more empathetic than performative.
More intentional than reactive and designed with the people most affected at the center, not the margin.
Thank you for walking with us through the aftermath, for laughing with us, for reflecting with us, holding these stories with us.
And even after the hurricane, as we said before, blow off a roof, ruin with plans, and mash up with mates, we're still there. This has been
Ground zero in
The Eye of the Aftermath. From the Met We Talk student podcast series, let's keep the conversation going. Walk good, check on your people, and remember, resilience is not just how we bounce back, it's how we build forward together.